it's very hard to be agile and adjust your strategy as you go if you aren't getting feedback from the ground. Knowing what questions people have, what their concerns are, and what resonates with them is so key to building that continuously successful change activation strategy and ensuring that your change and transformation actually gets executed on the ground. And you also need a system that learns over time for this, right? So if you already knew that this audience is concerned with job security, for example, you don't have to do the work of finding that out again and again the next time the hard way. Just collect the two-way feedback continuously over time and then use it again and again because you know that it's tagged to that audience. And then, of course, with the changes that time always presents, right, when people are changing their feedback and what their concerns are, so having that built into the system as well. Now, sometimes it's even harder to get this feedback, right? Like we all know that survey fatigue is very real and there's only so much time that you have that you can really spend on those one-to-ones or focus groups or traveling to see people in person. And especially when you're driving change for tens of thousands of people. And I know that many of you are tiny, tiny teams of just a handful of people trying to change how tens of thousands of people work. And meeting all of them would take you a lifetime, right? So how do we collect feedback at that level of scale in a way that is neither survey driven nor requires those many, many hours of face time from you and your team? The way that we think about this is let's tap into something that people do every single day with their friends, colleagues, and just on the internet as a whole. What do? They comment on content. So if you're watching a video here as part of your change and transformation communications that you received,
motivated to achieve their piece of this broad puzzle that we're all assembling together. And responsibilities need to be assigned based on a couple of things.
then having the ability to comment, share your thoughts and questions right where that video happens. And having this in a very natural way, right, that feeds into people's everyday social instincts that they see in the digital world all the time. So the fact that you can comment, the fact that you can react to this with an emoji of your choice, the fact that you can reply, add a comment or +1 a question, this is how people are used to interacting with content. And that's a really good way to collect feedback. So whether it's on a video or questions on a podcast as you're listening to the podcast live, or something that you may not understand as you're reading through a quick SOP guide, you get all of that feedback across the entire change journey that people are going through. So they can continuously share their thoughts, ask questions, voice concerns, or anything else that they want to share as they are going through the change journey and how that's impacting them and their roles. And then the fourth way to get some live instant feedback loops is through the live streams.
Having sort of this all-in-one tool to actually spearhead some of these changes for those organizations.
Yeah, well, the first time I saw it, it was, did I talk to Will? Did I talk to Nellie? I talked to Nellie for the very first time, that's right. And inside I was screaming because I was like, I can't believe this thing exists and I've not been able to use it. I think that it helps in a few different spaces.
And then for every live stream, you have something here called chat. So when it's live, then this chat is on the live stream. You see live what people's reactions are and what they're thinking and saying and what their questions are. And then afterwards, you can also get all the chat replay here and see all the conversation that was happening as people were live. So this is what I call the triple I strategy when it comes to feedback loops. They need to be instant, they need to be interactive, and they need to be informal. And this way of sharing feedback and thoughts and concerns is exactly that. It's instant because you get the communications and enablement right in the flow of work, also integrated through Microsoft Teams, for example, and you can instantly comment on it. It's interactive because people can then go in and reply and you can have a conversation, and it's very informal, right? It's not, hey, can you take 15 minutes to respond to this survey? It's much more informal than that. So it's very simple. When you put out communications or capability building to the organization, you give them a chance to respond right away immediately. And having people ask questions, share concerns, reply to others. You can have change champions doing a big part of the replying for their teams and their areas, and that's something that works really well. But the beauty is, of course, that you get the data of all of this as well. So you don't have to be the one going in, replying everyone one by one. You get all of this data in aggregate at a larger organizational level. So let's go into the report builder and see how can we get all of that data and get the feedback. So you name your report, let's say circular economy. Then you select one of the templates for this report. So if you're looking at feedback on initiative and what people are saying, then the user comments is the best template to use. Then in the next step, we select exactly what is the feedback that we want to see, what time period, from who, and on what initiative. So you can go really, really granular here with what exactly is the feedback that you want. So let's say we want to know last month, what were people's feedback on this SOP that we put out? So then we select that piece or that journey, and then we select who do we want to see the feedback from. So maybe you have some random people also seeing it, or you just want to narrow down on what exactly do my Australia operations managers think of this. So if you just want to know the feedback from a specific group, then you can select that here. So let's say I want to see what those Australia people have to say. So let's select my operations managers in Australia. Maybe I also want to know feedback from champions. That's pretty useful. So let's say I select my change champions for 2025. Now the report that I'm getting from selecting this is last month in March 2025, what was the feedback that my operations managers and change champions in Australia had on the SOP best practices for this new initiative? So that's how granular you can get. And when you select audience, you can even here like specify a specific user. So maybe I want to know what Amanda specifically is thinking about everything that I'm doing. Like I just want to know Amanda's sentiment. And then you can select all these areas and then Amanda, and then you get a report for that. Or let's say you want to build a specific custom audience and you want to know everyone who reports into Charles, for example, what do they think? So you select reporting line, and then maybe you want to know Charles N-3, or do you want to know his entire organization? What do they think? Let's say you want to know all the way down to 12 levels below. Then you select this. So now I get to know everyone who reports into Charles Davis. What do they think of these different initiatives? And then maybe you want their feedback on something very specific. So take the circular economy technology launches, for example. So let's say Charles is in a technology group. I want to know what does his team think of this technology launches in last month. So I select my criteria here. So this means you can go very granular in your reporting, and all of this data is exportable. So then when you get to the next step, this is where you can design your data. What is the data that you want? Maybe you don't care about their Tigerhall user ID or location and employee ID, let's say. Now this is the report I'm getting. So I'm getting the username, the email, what the comments were, where they commented, and the link to that piece as well if I want to double check. Now in the next step, this is where you see the summary of what is it that I'm asking it to report on, and then you simply export this. In a few months, you'll be able to have this visualized within this dashboard as well. Right now, it's an email export, so you will get an email with a link to just download that report. And once you receive that email and you download the report, it looks something like this. So this is where you can then see all the different users, all the employees, and what exactly were their thoughts and feedback. And was this something that they commented on? Was it a reply to someone else? And you can look at, okay, what questions do they have? They ask about how do we measure the resource recovery rate in practice as a question that's come up. They ask about there's an emphasis on sustainability and reducing costs, but how do we balance this with a potential increase in operational complexity and associated risks? So this is where you can then see specific to the audience that you pull this report on, what exactly are their concerns and their questions and things that they like. So that's how the reporting is coming out at the moment. We also provide sentiment analysis for our customers. So this is something that we do where we report on different sentiment across different audiences and in a summary from all of their thumbs up, thumbs down, reactions, emojis, comments. What is it that different segments of your population are feeling, thinking, and saying about the initiative. That's something that we provide. And that is something that will also be in the platform in just a few months, where you can pull out sentiment analysis live and also see sentiment shifting over time. So right now, fine-tuning that model outside of the platform, and soon we'll build it into the platform as well. So that's how you can achieve 24/7 two-way feedback loops at really, really large scale without having to send a single survey or having to travel a single air mile.